So, yeah, how are things going over at Ryan's, working for Andrew Ryan? Oh, yeah, that's good. Lamb, yeah, she just treats me, she treats us all, really great. There's, universal healthcare over at her end, so that's working out pretty great. Oh, right, so you're a supporter of, the Tea Party movement, okay.
Can't find the angels, Mr. B.
Oh hey, is this what you're looking for?
You found it! Tolstoy! Hey, Tolstoy!
Oh, no. I don't want to hear anything, actually. I'm just gonna go back to reading, and then, Tolstoy! Sack boys, what do you want? Oh my god, I don't want to deal with this shit right now.
The time has come, Tolstoy. It's time for you to make another video review.
Don't you think it's up to me to decide when we do reviews?
Tolstoy, it is not enough that you preach the good word of fighting derp. You must show the world your skills with a blade. Take up your sword. Let your fingers feel the weight upon it.
Huh. That's kind of a positive message coming from you guys.
Well, what do you mean, Tolstoy?
Well, normally you're trying to tell me to do shit. You're like the opposite ends of manic depressive stages.
That's ridiculous, Tolstoy. When have we ever tried to lead you astray?
Well, there was that time you tried to convince me to watch Jersey Shore.
I was just trying to show you what good Americans watch.
Yeah, well, after finishing the first 5 minutes of the first episode of Jersey Shore, under Dark Sackboy's instructions, I assaulted a frat faggot in a Jersey club with a taser. I ended up going to a county prison in Jersey. I ended up being a sex worker. They trafficked me for human sex. In a prison, in America, paid for by taxpayers' dollars. I contracted the HIV virus. Thus, a misdemeanor in America renders under one the death sentence. The fucking death sentence. Greetings, citizens of the internet. It is I, Tolstoy Kafkaevsky, here to bring you a long-awaited review that I've been putting off for far too long. Probably should have done some better research before, but let's just jump right into it. That's how Tolstoy does it. You probably have figured out by now what I'm going to review. Here it is sitting over here in my guitar case of doom. A Hanwei Practical Ninjato sword, or I prefer the term Chukoto, for reasons I'll explain in a moment. Let's talk quickly about the history of me and this sword. Let's go off on a long tangent. That's what Tolstoy does. The first time I saw something like this, I did not actually know that it was a unique style. I guess I just immediately confused it with a katana, and that's understandable. First time I saw something like this would be in Metal Gear Solid. Obviously, this was being carried and wielded by the cybernetic ninja, and with graphics like that, I mean, I'm not suggesting it's anything less than a masterpiece with the technology that was given to them at the time, but with graphics like that, it maybe was easy for me to understand that it was confused, or that I confused it with the, Eastern style of katana, that the curve, the sexy curves. And yeah, years later, I don't know where it came to mind. Oh, you know what? I was doing research on Metal Gear Solid Wikia, and I heard the term Chukoto used, and then I did some research into Chukotos, and there's a huge heated debate about, Chukotos, the origins of, them being like the Korean straight sword, and, how much influence Chinese and Korean swordsmithing had on Japanese swordsmithing, which would eventually lead to, the katana, and that just leads to weeaboos just going way off the edge, way over the edge with their sort of pseudo study of swords. They're like, well, I'm pretty sure that katana can, cut through tungsten steel. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it can't. Well, I know that one samurai could, that's just a, it's like a really old, a story. That's partially why I'm afraid to do any kind of sword review, because I do not know much about sword stance. I know a little bit. I've spread myself out, a lot of my research out, thinly over pretty much every single subject you can imagine. Every subject that assures that I'm a complete and total social reject. Anything that's cool and interesting, really, is generally just, the system does not want you to think about that. Anyway, so I can't pretend like I know how to wield this to the greatest potential that it has. I can't tell you all the history about it. But I know that these days the manufacturers and retailers, Hanwei, Cult of Athena, are all calling this a Ninjato. And I suppose the origin of that is that they're suggesting that this would be wielded by ninjas. Here's where we have to put up a big, I don't know, alert, I did a lot of research into whether or not ninjas exist, and it's still a huge debate in my mind as to whether or not ninjas existed, and if they did, in what sense did they exist. I mean, there's such sketchy evidence, and you have so many people that, for some reason, nerd passions run real high. And you have so many people who will, argue the fact that, like, in the 8th century, there was a scroll, and the scroll said that, there was ninjas, and I know they all look like Naruto, and they all had superpowers, and they studied the art of, like, man, I don't know, dude, I don't, it's not all that steady. I mean, we can piece together what, certain things about, the different shogunates and the time periods of feudal Japan. We know a lot about, like, the samurai and their social class, although I think it's being misrepresented a lot. I mean, the truth was, weren't samurai hired thugs? Really? Weren't they just sort of like, dragoon troops, like knights, high-ranking soldiers who were hired by landowners, or shoguns to watch over their territory and to assure that there was no, civil unrest? Weren't they basically just urban pacifiers? I don't know, that's kind of my idea, but the whole idea of, like, a samurai being so noble just because they had something like the Bushido Code, which, I mean, that's like, the police have a code, like, don't shoot an unarmed guy. That doesn't mean they always follow that freaking code. I don't know. I'm not getting into the point is that I come to this sword review with hopefully fresh, untainted eyes. I don't immediately, when I do my research, I don't think, but how could that be? Because we all know ninjas existed. Like, I'm not gonna, meh. So let's just skip all that. It's a sword! It's a functional sword! Yeah! So, yeah, going over the body of it, well, where do we start? So, down here at this end, we'll just start with the handle, which is just beautifully done. You have iron and brass fittings right there, with nice texture on that. It's very sturdy. They're made of iron, yeah, that's, iron fittings. I don't know what material this is, probably brass, and it's very nice. It's some, Buddhist symbol. Has to do with something, I don't know. I think they said this was suede leather wrapping. Someone said it wasn't very tight. My model, Sword Buyer's Guide review, said it wasn't very tight. My model is very tight, actually. It's very nice. I like it. Faux ray skin. You could get that ray skin in blue, or, white or black. I chose black, because once you go black, you never go back. Oh, so cool. And, yeah, you have another, I thought there was another symbol. I just realized that's actually, it's, I believe, a peg that helps reinforce the handle over top of the full tang. Kind of sticks out there, and they could, like, put a brass tack over that or something. Then you get up to the tsuba. That's the one thing I know. The hilt is oftentimes called tsuba, and if you do not refer to it as such, the crowd, the sword-carrying crowd will be displeased. I find this one very nice. Supposedly, there's some legend behind the square tsuba and its use by ninjas. That they could use that, I don't know, to, like, prop up their foot or something, or use it as a quick, like almost like a crampon or an ice pick, or ice axe is what I mean. They could use that in climbing. I don't know. It's very well done. I really like that. A lot of tsubas on all Eastern swords, I am not entirely... excuse me. A lot of tsubas on Eastern swords, hilts on Eastern swords, I am not entirely impressed with. This one I am. I really like it. So, yeah, and then you continue down. Actually, what I've done here is I've flipped the blade so that, you can't see. There's, like, little iron. This is iron. Believe it or not, it's like, kind of, well, maybe it might be cheap pot metal, I don't know. This is completely decorative. And the ring in its mouth, it's hard. I mean, I'm putting stress on that, but I really wouldn't. It has, like, a little rope that it comes with. Rather than the rope being tied around this area right next to the hilt, the rope kind of just, like, it was hanging off. Like, it came with these long little ropes, and I did a little Klingon braid right there. I don't know if I would trust that with load bearing. I have not actually attempted to lift up the sword by this cord. It just doesn't seem appropriate. And then you go all the way down to this end. Let's turn on my halogen lamp here. Yeah, there's a little bit of extra light. And you can see this nice iron fitting at the end with these nice little designs there. Overall, really well, presented, except for the hilt is wood with this plastic over top. Maybe that's just wood, I don't know, but it's not very sturdy. I've known people who have complained or suggested that they did not like the quality on the Dark Sentinel. The Dark Sentinel scabbard or sheath. As you can see, this one's actually made out of much more tougher material. They've lacquered the wood or something like that, except for I've really damaged mine. That was done in the Dreamcast review when me and Zach were practicing this, because I really did not want to mess up. I really didn't want to explain to his family, oh, I killed Zach with a sword. Sorry about that. Really didn't feel like explaining that to them, so we were really carefully learning to try to do that right, and we figured out that if he threw out the rifle quicker than I could bring down the sword, it would lessen the blow. It didn't come out as Hollywood as we wanted to, but actually, no, it did, actually. I was pretty happy with the way that whole little movie ended. Surprised it didn't get as many views as we thought it did. Such a shame. But yeah, this is taking mild damage. I kind of like the fact that it has my personal battle scars on it. I love the Hanwei Dark Sentinel more than like any other sword, just because of the way it looks. I honestly wish it was more functional. I've seen reviews that kind of comment on the fact that it's not as functional because of the way it's designed. But either way, and then it has this nice little steel end cap, almost like a Persian sword. Really like my Hanwei Dark Sentinel. And the scabbard of this isn't bad. I'm just saying it could be better. And I fear that with the sharpness of this blade, I'm messing up the inside. I always obviously store it and carry it blade facing up. I remember to tell myself, demons looking at me, so that I know that when I'm unsheathing it, it's, the blade is on top and not resting on the inside of the scabbard. So let's have a look at the blade. She comes really tight, at least mine did. She comes really fit in there, when you first get it. So it takes a good amount of energy to get it out of there to begin with. Place that right there. And immediately you are presented with a high carbon blade. There is some steel specification. I really don't know, to be honest. I try to understand metallurgy as best I can, and even then you have people going like, this is 926 Damascus spring steel, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what that means. I know that in metalsmithing, I know that with certain steels, high nickel content makes for hardness, but there's problems with that. Stainless means this is like 10% chromium, that makes the steel weaker, and that high carbon is good, except for it makes it rust faster. And that is where, even when I first got this, I saw little brown patches, little brown, they're like right here. A little bit of rust forming on the blade, and that's not good. I don't even know how to care for it. I don't even want to think about that in the future, to be honest. It's almost like being a brand new father and just thinking like, fuck, am I really going to care for this kid? How do I do it, Oh, no, wait, that's just oil. Ooh, that's machine oil. Fuck. I mean, I oiled these up. That's one thing you gotta know about these high-carbon swords. If you're gonna keep a sword, it ain't like a stainless. It will get stained. So that's all I can salt paper. So, and you have to be really careful while cleaning it. And I heard that if you oil it up, oh, good, it's removing the oil, thank God. If you oil it up too much, then you're trapping in moisture. And if you trap in moisture, what's going to happen? It's going to eat away at the metal. The high carbon is going to do some reaction that'll exchange it for blah 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 molecules, rust. The sword has really nice balance. It's very light. It's like maybe 2 pounds. 2 pounds. Well, yeah, 2 or 3, 4 pounds. The blade is greasy right now because I put machine oil on it. And it comes to a little Tonto-like point right there. It's very sharp. It's not as sharp as a lot of models out there, and it is not as sturdy as a lot of models out there. I mean, really, go on a Sword Buyer's Guide if you want to see. This guy, he's just so metal. He does the best reviews of this stuff. Anything I'm doing is just for kicks. To please my fans. Yeah. So I really like the look of the sword. I like the fact that it's straightened. I heard somewhere they suggested that this isn't even the best kind of sword. Like, if you really wanted to cut better, you would need the kind of curvature. But thanks to modern smithing techniques, auto forges, blah, 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 new understanding of metal, that we can actually make this sword work better than they could back then. I, again, don't understand the physics of it. I like the profile. I don't really understand everything about the kind of different blades you'll see. Like, that if you took a microscope and looked at a European Italian longsword, you'll find that the point kind of comes to an arch like that, but if you look at, you know, a Japanese, you know, katana, you'll find that it comes to more like a bullet point like that, and then that's superior for blah, 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 blah. Oh, fuck. I do not know. I like sharp things. I know a little bit more than the average Joe about these kinds of things, which is, again, I'll cover this again because I talked about this in my last review, that is none so more proven than when you have people who were like looking at some of my original sword reviews where I was like doing it with stainless steel or like these crappy like 10-cent Walmart machetes just to see if they would cut, which was the gag. I was just trying to see what they could do. I didn't expect them to do. And they're like, well, what do you expect? It doesn't cut well. And I'm like, I never said I expected it to cut well, dumbass. And then they'd be like, you swing like a pussy. And I'm like, you fucking moron. It does not require that you swing faster, harder. It requires that you know, have finesse and a good tool. Again, I don't know too much about the art of... They say if you're going to learn about Bushido and, you know, using an Eastern style of sword, that you have to, like, take up a master and go to a, you know, a whatever school for, or kendo, study one of these under a master. And to be honest, I'm an autodidact. I went to homeschooling. You know, you're telling me to do something I can't do. It's like telling a gay guy, like, well, you have to like women. You have to like titties. Like, well, if I'm gay, I obviously don't. So if I'm an autodidact, if I teach myself, I just have the desire to teach myself everything. I hate when other people try and teach me, or it's more or less that I hate when one person tries to teach 40 people at once, and there's not specific attention put on me. That's just not, I don't learn that way. But what I have been told is, it, you know, really was, the power of the sword rests in, I heard if you're going to do a vertical strike, that you pull down with the left, and you're just guiding it with the right. Probably can't see that, you know. That you're, and they even said practice the strokes originally with just your left, and then remember that the right is just to finish it off. It's something you're doing with your hips, something about all the power in the pinkies. Me swing metal. Me hit target, you know. That's about as much finesse as you're going to see out of me, which is really why, I mean, if I were going to do any kind of actual sword fighting for any reason, I would stick with, you know, broadswords. Obviously, I would stick with something like a Chinese broadsword or a machete, something that takes less finesse to wield and just more brute strength. Just, you know, me swing a sword, me mash it, you know. And I definitely would like to get some footage of me cutting with this on there. We talked about this in my last review, but she is just a pretty little girl. She has just caught my eye, and I want to take her out, and I want to buy her a new dress. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about anymore. I think that LSD finally kicked in. Let's get some, let's go out back, get some action shots, yeah? Alright. Well, of all the reviews that could have gone awry, this one has gone the wryest. First of all, apparently it's summer, and no one took the time to tell me. Fucking global warming. And so obviously I just sweated myself into oblivion out there, slicing away, making my point. I had to do that last one silently. That whole, you know, cutting sequence silently for two reasons, which is one, the neighbors were coming out of the woodworks, and God knows, the only thing worse than a creepy neighbor kid wearing what I wear, slicing a bunch of stuff up as if he's narrating it. That's definitely, they don't even see the camera, they'll just, you know, oh my goodness. So I had to be silent that, and I was just shaking with rage, actually. My accuracy was going way down there. Maybe you can see, if you notice, if you look, that I was actually shaking the blade a bunch. Because minutes before I went to go take the shot, I was actually going up to grab the machete, or whatever this is, broadsword, and my brother took a shoe and threw it at me and hit me in the face, basically for teasing him while I was wielding it. The sword came awfully close to my throat. I suggested that that was putting my life in danger, and that was a violation of safety that one should practice around these kind of weapons, but apparently no one cares. So let's just continue on. So yeah, I had to do it all silently. If you pay close attention, you'll see that I was trying to practice good sword form, using my righty to guide, or lefty to guide, right to guide, left to drive, and at the end of one of the shots, you can see my hand kind of came away, and the blade just went straight through. Very, very sharp. I tried to do a different kind of cut, because milk jugs are soft. I mean, cutting to a milk jug is kind of lower level shit. Cutting to tabi mats is much more impressive. I don't have tabi mats. You know, I have jikatabis, but I don't have tabi mats. So, one of the things that they say you can do to replace that is pool noodles. And I tried that, but the physics of setting one up for a slice still elude me. Yeah, that tends to happen. Anyway, and there's not much to say besides it is a functional sword. How kick-ass is that? Haven't you always wanted one? Remember that you always have to practice really good safety when using a sword. Go on to swordbuyersguide.com or any really good website. Maybe even Cult of Athena might show you that you have to practice a lot of safety when wielding swords. Try not to get near any faggots, because they might throw things at you. I don't know, it just sometimes it fucking happens. And when you're slicing, always make sure that you look where you're slicing. If you notice, I really size up my target and do a lot of practice swings before I think about it, mainly because I don't have a pedestal that just raises up the jug for me. I have a table, a little table, and that table I could cut into that, and I really don't want to hurt the blade. I really don't want to hurt me. I don't want to hurt the table. So I really got to think about it, which kind of limits me in my ability to do neat strikes. I oftentimes can't go for a 1-2 punch, which is really what I'd like to do, is cut diagonally again. But obviously, I set the jug up so I can only cut diagonally safely one way by clearing the table by putting it on the corner. And I can go through 2 milk jugs. You can probably go through 3 or 4. You can see much better tests of this bad boy on the swordbuyersguide.com or the good websites like that. There's one on Cult of Athena you'll find. And the one thing I want to talk about, besides sword safety and keeping away from faggots who throw things, is all-purpose machine oil. Singer. I think we have an old bottle of this somewhere in the basement. I mean, and I just bought this new from Walmart. You can get these almost anywhere. Good machine oil. They make all-purpose sword oil, but I don't know about that. I just did machine oil, because sword oil, it costs money. I already oiled this one up. Now, Sword Buyer's Guide, I cannot pretend that I know too much about this, but I have done it before, and I found that as a sword collector, that was one of the things that I wish there was more information on, how to oil your swords. This one just went through water, so it has water particles over it, and I tried my best to dry it, you know, just so the water won't stay on there and hang there and possibly cause rust. Feels very solid when it cuts through. That's another thing. Is the Hanwei Dark Sentinel, because it's so long, has kind of a, you know, it wiggles a little bit. Some swords are made to wiggle. I prefer swords that don't wiggle, actually, which is why I like this broadsword more than I do most machetes, because this shit don't wiggle for shit. It's just fucking solid. I mean, even cold steel machetes wiggle. And yeah, you know, they have the website thing where the cold steel puts the machete in the vise and then shows you can bend it back at a, you know, 40-degree angle and it won't snap. Dude, that's creepy as fuck. I just don't want it to bend. How about that? You know what I mean? Like, so, I've already oiled this one. I don't know how many times is good to oil in a whatever period. Sword Buyer's Guide suggests once a month, in which case she's still good to go, only for a little while. So I'll probably just leave that alone. After cutting, you don't see any really nicks in the blade or anything. Still really sharp, still holding up. They will eventually need to be sharpened if you use them too much. That's a problem for me. I'm really not as skilled at sharpening swords. If I were, I would have that old Dark Sentinel up and ready to ride. But that's right. When someone's just driving a little moped by, there's no muffler laws in Maryland. No, there really aren't. So, yeah. And, let's just go ahead and give this the old 1-2 sheath. What are you, like, doing a circle with your little, moped? Can still hear the buzzing. My God. No one is impressed by your, lack of your tiny penis. No one is impressed by that. Actually, I saw some motorcyclists the other day. And here's a weird story, because I fucking can. Because I can talk about it. I was walking out of a 7-11. Oh, wow. Look how dirty my boots are. Isn't that so awesome? Hang on. Just in case there's any boot fetishists out there, such as myself. It isn't really a sexual thing. I just really like it. And I don't like women who wear boot... Fucking camera. Fucking tripod. Fucking everything. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of dirt on there. That's battle scars, my friend. I got a lot of water and dirt and shit just from pushing that table over Hell's Half-Acre and getting, water splashed on me. Water felt good because it's hot outside. And I'm wearing a wool shirt, so now I know how Abraham Lincoln felt giving the Gettysburg Address. Oh wait, Gettysburg Address was done when? Ooh, I'm showing how bad at history I am. So yeah, what were we talking about? Oh right, so I was walking out of a bar. No, I was walking out of a 7-Eleven and I saw a bunch of greasy, hairy Harley faggots. And I'm not trying to like insult anyone who just drives a Harley. Maybe you drive a Harley and you're an alright guy, but these guys weren't. And I don't know, and sometimes these guys are alright, but it's like big old greasy monkey tattoos, big old murder beard. And they just saw me and I don't remember what I was wearing. I was wearing like my suit jacket. Is that it? And like a tie? I wasn't even wearing my jack boots, I don't think. Maybe I was. I was wearing my jack boots. And they just looked at me and they started going until I got to my car. And I honestly just wanted to pull out a gun and just shoot them. Their intolerance of even the slightest, amount of individuality when they themselves act like they're the ones, like, oh, people are intimidated by Harleys, and they're just intimidated by my lifestyle. No, we just think you're fucking annoying. I saw some bikers recently who I was not annoyed by, and they were all wearing safety gear. They were driving, they weren't really Harleys, they were like sports bikes probably, like Ninjas or, Suzukis, or whatever they were. And they had mufflers, and they sounded like normal vehicles when they drove off, and they were talking to each other in the line, and all of a sudden the light was green, and they drove away. As opposed to just these drag pipe, I'm sorry, I had to fit some hate in there. I really don't dislike bikers. I've been to a biker wedding. It's just the attitude and the way you carry yourselves and the fact that you will alienate someone like me when you yourself look and act the way you do. What the fuck? This is what I'm talking about. I have to get out of this country. So, high carbon blade here, which means it can easily rust. I've put it through its paces now. I wanted to crack into some wood with it, really. I have hacked a branch, actually. Should have shown that. Damn. So I tried to clean it off a little bit, and I don't know, really. That's the thing is, they say if you put too much oil on that, it's bad. Oh, damn, there's like a little nick in the blade. I think this thing's even used, so it probably had these nicks before. I like its battle scars. It gives it character. So we'll just put like a few dabs here or there. I put like a little drop every inch or whatever. I try to make it, the drop normal teardrop size. My hand is actually still shaking just a little bit from just pure rage. I mean, I know that's completely not understandable that, when handling a deadly weapon, when on a firearms course, you wouldn't want someone going and jumping in your fucking shit. Because it's totally safe to handle firearms that way. Go ahead, try it. Try and see, kids. Play along with Tolstoy. So, yeah, and then I kind of just rub it in. Like I'm going to rub in this fact that, faggots probably shouldn't be allowed to wear shoes or have shoes in their hand. They're generally gonna... I mean, seriously, my brother's like a fucking sand monkey. Obviously, he threw the shoe at me like that guy threw at George Bush, except for when that guy did it, it was fucking awesome. When this monkey did it, he was just being a faggot. So, it's just, I really, I might be putting way too thick of a coat on there now, and I'm not sure how much the oil evaporates, or, they say a very thin layer is what is desirable. I'll just take a little paper towel, and I kind of do. I mean, this is basically like watching paint dry. It's like watching paint dry if the painter was just fucking pissed off. Was as pissed off and as well educated as I am. Oh my God, Tolstoy dares to suggest that he is well educated because he's read books. Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. read books that impresses no one, specifically the ladies, because, of course, the measure of a man is how much weights he can lift, not how intelligent he is. That is definitely the history of the species of man. We have been getting stronger as time goes on. Aside from the fact that the fossil records say we haven't been. Anyway, and the fossil records including the size of our cranials to house larger lobes upon lobes to do higher emotional and cognitive processing. Oh, Lucy, it's evolution. Come on back, please, come on. Anyway, so, you know, and then I guess I try to rub it in. Actually, this is way too much oil. I don't know how much. I say a thin layer. This is probably way too much. So I'm going to try to dry some of this, actually. And while I'm doing this, I really hope that, you know, like a clown doesn't, like, burst through the fucking, you know, wall going, oh yeah, to, you know, throw me off of, you know, and accidentally dry. Because the back of this is actually sharpened. This area up here is actually sharpened, and when it came back on me, it went sort of like that. So, you know, I generally was pissed off. I mean, most of the time, if you ever had, you know, something hit your face, you generally don't like that, but you specifically don't like it if it's the filthy bottom of a shoe, specifically if you're holding a deadly weapon. But let's not treat it with reverence or anything. You know. It's not like it's an airsoft. If an airsoft had gone off close to my face, the likelihood that it would even catch my eye, not very good. But the likelihood that a sword going to my throat could hurt me, well, I don't know, I'm not a warrior. But I have read what warriors say. And they say, yes, you could die. So I think I've applied way too much of a coat. Actually, it doesn't feel too greasy. I generally like run a finger over it and say that if it's like more greasy than the texture of human flesh, then, you know, which actually that is a little bit. But I think I've gotten off most of the excess amount. So and we can do the other side. I'm not sure how much time I have left. I know that I cannot keep an infinite amount on my memory card, and I must work faster. And my hand is still shaking just from being so fucking pissed. Trying to make nice even drops is hard. Anyway, so yeah, trying to get into the sword hobby a little bit. I know I have way too many hobbies as it is. I definitely like the finer, more esoteric hobbies in life. I should probably be punished for that, you know, for not liking football and titties. Actually, the funny thing is I don't dislike football, not really, or titties. It's funny, some people have suggested that because I mock derp, that I never played sports as a kid, or like I was picked on for being fat. I was picked on for being fat. But it's not that I didn't play sports. I don't know what makes you think you can't be fat and not play football. I mean, have you seen the NFL? Have you seen Saragusa? He used to play for the Baltimore Ravens. We don't call them Ravens, we call them Ravens. I don't know why. But, yeah, it's not like I didn't play sports when I was a kid. The sports that I was most interested in were football, lacrosse. I didn't like basketball. You could say it's because I was short. I was okay. I never got the dunk down. Not the dunk. The window shot. I was good at passing. I knew a lot of the basics, dribbling. I knew how to get around guys. You could just say it was probably because I was too short. That could be the case. I didn't get a lot of good shots. My shot, when getting the ball up in the air, I couldn't do it. I liked lacrosse. A little bit, but the problem was trying to find a stick, you know what I mean? Like, all the kids, like, one rich kid in the neighborhood would have a stick, and I happen to have two, because my mom was a school teacher, and, one year some kid, like, left it, and he was a senior, and it was like, they're just, you know, is that really? And so I had a couple sticks to play with, and we just play catch. That's basically it. And, mostly when we played football, we just played catch, too. Sometimes you'd have a skirmish. That's another thing. You have to kind of trust the people that you're doing that with. When you're doing something physical, it's like tackle football. Even in high school, when they make you do flag football, or any sport, really, you didn't like gym class, because mainly you would see people kind of, you know, you had this, what do I say, you know, they had this ugly, evil, ugly spirit of competition. Like, it wasn't about having fun or, like, you know, improving yourself athletically. It was about, like, proving whose penis was, like, the largest. And it completely flipped my wig. I did not feel comfortable at all playing there. And half the time, we'd end up, like, going off and doing something else. I remember when they were playing baseball, I couldn't hit the ball. I could not figure out how to get the bat to click with the ball. I never played before in my life. We ended up just going playing catch. Me and my friends just went out to the outer field, and we all went and played catch. And I remember I actually saw a guy get beamed in the head with a baseball. And it was kind of funny, because, I mean, like, the ball was coming at him in slow motion, and I saw it. I wasn't the one who threw it. I threw it to a friend who threw it to him. and he didn't turn. He was talking to somebody else, and someone said, "Hey, so and so," and as he actually passed out, I saw his body go and like hit the ground, and we all ran up, and there was a huge lump on his head. We didn't throw it hard, and it wasn't a 90. It was a soft, but it's still a fucking baseball. So yeah. Anyway, time to draw it off the other end and kind of give it a buff so that your sword is nice and shiny. Not shiny, really, because it's a high carbon blade. It's not stainless steel. Again, while I'm doing this, I'm keeping care not to hurt my hand. Greasing it is easier than sharpening it. Sharpening it, you have a higher possibility of injury. They suggest that you get Kevlar gloves. Where the fuck you get Kevlar gloves? The guy was like, you can find them at Lowe's. I'm like, no, you can't. I was at Lowe's. I know you can't. Yeah, and I have to remember to watch that sharpened edge on the back and to, ensure that no shoes are thrown at me while I'm cleaning it. Must keep this a shoe-free zone. All shoes must remain on your feet. Sand. People. Oh, geez, did I just insult Arabs? I didn't mean to. But you do live among sand. I mean, there is sand in that area. Don't pretend that there's not. So let's run our finger along there. A little too greasy on that end. A little too greasy on this end. I think I just put too much grease on it. So might need some more work. And yeah. Till next time, stay safe. You Ronin, you knights of the old Republic.